Hollywood wants you to believe that medieval castles were romantic places filled with noble knights and smelling of roses. They are lying to you. A real castle was basically a dark, cold stone box filled with diseases where hygiene went to die. Fact number 1, the toilet situation. They didn't have plumbing, they had the garderobe. This was essentially a stone bench with a hole in it, built directly into the castle walls. Gravity did all the work, dropping the waste straight down the side of the magnificent castle. If you were lucky, the waste fell into a moat and washed away. If not, it piled up at the base of the wall. Poor servants called gong farmers had the worst job in history. They had to shovel these massive frozen piles of royal poop during the night. But wait, it gets grosser. You might wonder why they called it a garderobe, which sounds like wardrobe. Well, the smell inside that small stone room was so horrific, filled with ammonia fumes from urine, that it actually had a benefit. Medieval people hung their expensive clothes inside the toilet shaft. Why? Because the toxic ammonia gas rising from the pit was strong enough to kill the fleas and moths living in their coats. Yes, they preferred smelling like pee over having bugs. And sometimes enemies would use this against you. There are historical records of soldiers climbing up the toilet chute to invade the castle from the inside. Imagine being on the toilet and getting stabbed from below. Not a glorious way to die. Fact number 2, the floor. Walking into a great hall, you would see a floor covered in straw and herbs. It looked rustic and charming. But this was just a visual trick to hide the absolute nightmare hiding underneath. They rarely changed the straw. Instead, when the top layer got dirty, they just added fresh straw on top. This created a compressed sandwich of filth that could stay there for years, fermenting like a disgusting compost heap right in the living room. Erasmus, a scholar from the time, described what was in that floor: spit, vomit, spilled beer, scraps of fish, and urine from the dogs that ran freely inside the hall. It was a biological hazard zone that you walked on every day. In the winter, the cold kept the smell manageable, but when summer arrived, the heat would warm up the layers of rotting garbage, releasing a stench so powerful they had to use heavy perfumes just to stop people from vomiting during dinner. And of course, it wasn't just dirt. This warm, rotting floor was the perfect home for rats, beetles, and fleas. If you dropped a piece of bread on that floor, you didn't apply the 5-second rule, you burnt it. Fact number 3, the medicine. If the smell of the floor didn't kill you, the doctor definitely would. They believed the body was filled with 4 humors. If you were sick, it meant you had too much blood, and it had to go. Got a headache? Leeches. Stomachache? Leeches. Depression? Definitely leeches. They would attach these slimy worms to your body to suck out the bad blood. Sometimes they took so much blood you would pass out, which they considered a success. Diagnosis was also interesting. Doctors would take a flask of your urine, hold it up to the light, smell it, and yes, sometimes even taste it to see what was wrong with you. A vintage Merlot? No, it's Sir Richard's kidney infection. For mental issues or epilepsy, they had a more direct approach: trepanation. This involved drilling a literal hole into your skull to let the evil spirits escape. And remember, anesthesia didn't exist yet. You were awake for the drilling. Surgeons were often just the local barbers. They would cut your hair, trim your beard, and then amputate your infected leg with the same dirty knife. Infection rates were sky high. You went in for a haircut and left in a coffin. So, the next time you complain about your modern life, just remember, you have a flushing toilet, clean floors, and doctors who don't drink your pee. I am the Monocle Black Hole. Subscribe or I'll send you back to the Dark Ages.